Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be starting in the next few moments. We're just waiting the arrival of a few of our invited guests, and then we'll be on the way.
Quando o jogo it's alright. Whatever you do, it's all good. Whatever you say, it's alright. Whatever you say, it's alright. Whatever you do, it's all good. Whatever you say, it's alright.
Ladies and gentlemen, our apologies for commencing with our program a bit behind schedule, circumstances beyond our control. Can we please rise for the singing of the national and AU anthems? Thank you. You may be seated. Honorable Bernard Sivalatani, Chairperson of the National Council. Honorable McHenry Venani, Leader of the Official Opposition in the National Assembly. Honorable Members of Parliament, Governor of the Bank of Namibia, Ms. Inge Dhamwani Kamwi, Presidential Advisor, members of the Diplomatic Corps and Development Partners, Deputy Governor and fellow board members, former Assistant Governor, board members and directors of the bank, management and staff members of the bank, chairpersons of boards and CEOs of commercial banks, captains of industry, members of the media, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is the 30th anniversary Governor's Address. Thank you for honoring our invitation, despite all constraints imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic. A word of welcome to all of those watching this event in the comfort of their offices, living rooms, or on their mobile devices. You are tuned into a live broadcast from the Bank of Namibia, marking the 30th anniversary of the bank's founding on the 16th of July, 1990. My name is Kadembire Demburuka. I work for the bank in the communications department, and I'll be facilitating the program this morning. Listen to the following quotes from central bank governors over the years. Never explain, never excuse. I don't have words, I have instincts. Always do what you say never explain what you do. Well, things have changed since then. Central banks are no longer ivory towers, far removed from the practicalities on the ground, clouded in mystique and secrecy, saying things cryptically, avoiding being accountable at every turn. Central banks would like to believe that they are transparent and accountable. At least the Bank of Namibia believes that it should be accountable and transparent because it makes the work that we do here easy, it enhances credibility, it promotes trust. For the past 30 years, the bank has been on a journey to create and enhance dialogue with all stakeholders to move Namibia forward. This event, the governor's address, is held in that spirit of a meaningful dialogue, of a transparent and accountable institution, of an institution that has come to represent so much more over the years, stability and strength. Once again, thank you for honoring our invitation to this dialogue, this celebration of 30 years of central banking excellence. Let me at this moment invite the Deputy Governor of the bank to say a little bit more about the history of the bank and welcome us all to this 30th anniversary Governor's Address. Deputy Governor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremony, Honorable Bernard Sebelatani, Chairperson of the National Council, Honorable McHenry Venani, Leader of the Official Opposition, Honorable Members of Parliament who are present here, Governor of the Bank of Namibia, members of the Diplomatic Corps, senior government officials, captains of the industries, Bank of Namibia board members, management and staff of the bank, former board members, former assistant governor, and former senior management of the bank who are present here, distinguished invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Namibians following us on the social media pages of the bank. A very good morning to all of you. It is my distinct honor to welcome you all to this 30th anniversary event, marking the celebration of an important milestone in the history of the Bank of Namibia. Today, on the 16th of July, in the year 1990, exactly 30 years ago, the Bank of Namibia was founded. From the very humble beginnings, the Bank of Namibia has overcome many obstacles and has grown into a formidable institution that it is today. Director of Ceremony, allow me to quickly narrate a brief history on the establishment of the bank. Prior to independence, Namibia, then Southwest Africa, did not have a central bank on its own. The local central banking function were performed by a branch of South African Reserve Bank, which was established in Windhoek in 1961. This branch did not perform all central banking functions as we know them today. The local branch was only responsible for distribution of the currency, providing clearing facilities to commercial banks, and also serving as a banker to the Southwest African administration. The branch was made up of a department called Operation, with only 3 divisions, namely currency, banking, and accounting. From that structure, it is quite apparent that the branch did not have an authority to formulate monetary policy for the territory, as South African policies were automatically applicable in Southwest Africa. With no policy purview, the branch also did not conduct much economic research or undertake supervisory responsibilities over local banking operation. Now, the idea of the Central Bank of Namibia, as we know it today, was conceptualized during the liberation struggle. The leaders of the movement had the foresight to look ahead and visualize a future central bank for an independent country. In the year 1988, 2 years before Namibia gained independence, there was a top secret mission to Rome in Italy, undertaken by the president of SWAPO and founding president, His Excellency Dr. Sam Nujoma, and then the Secretary of Finance of SWAPO and Namibia's second president, His Excellency Dr. Hifikepunye Pohamba. The meeting was a top secret because they could not really risk the granular details of the establishment of such a key institution in an independent Namibia to be known, at least not as well enemy, and also for the international bankers that had the capacity to put spanner in the works. SWAPO put a request to the former Swedish Prime Minister, Olof Palme, who availed a specialist banker by the name Eric Leonard Carlson as a key resource person for the project of the Central Bank of Namibia. The three gentlemen, the two former presidents and Mr. Carlson, in Rome, they discussed the proposed economic architecture for Namibia and a future central bank for the country. It was at this engagement that the seeds were sown for what we know today as the Bank of Namibia. Mr. Carlson will go on to serve the bank from its inception, initially as the deputy governor and later on as the governor until his departure at the end of 1993. The seminal meeting in Rome was not only a catalyst for the establishment of the Bank of Namibia. The foundation of the bank was also laid through the empirical research carried out at the United Nations Institute of Namibia under the stewardship of our current president, His Excellency Dr. Hage Geingob. The research interrogated the various options for the currency system, exchange rate regime, and central banking that will be applied in an independent Namibia. This work, in my view, clearly demonstrates the foresight of the liberation movement leadership to establish key institutions in order to ensure certainty to the economic order in an envisaged independent Namibia. For those who are keen to understand the rich history of how institutions, processes, and systems were designed for independent Namibia, I strongly recommend that you read the book titled Namibia: Perspective for National Reconstruction and Development, edited by Dr. Geingob. The work that was done by UNIN, I think one could also not really leave out the person who was the executive secretary of UNECA, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Professor Adebayo Adedeye, who was very instrumental also in the establishment of union. The provision of establishment of central bank was also made in the constitution of the country. In this regard, the Bank of Namibia legal foundation was enshrined in Article 128, sub-Article 1 of the Republic of Namibia Constitution as amended. The Bank of Namibia Act of 1990, Act number 8 of 1990, was then enacted, providing the first legal framework within which the central bank could be established. With the technical assistance from the International Monetary Fund, the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and the Swedish International Development Corporation, SITA, the Bank of Namibia was officially founded on the 16th of July, 1990. Subsequently, several legislations were enacted, enhancing the legal framework on the mandate of the bank, including the current Bank of Namibia Act of the year 2020. Back in 1990, the bank inherited the functional structure of the South West Africa branch of the South African Reserve Bank, as I have alluded to earlier. From these very humble beginnings, the bank has grown immensely over the years, gradually taking on additional functions in order to fully inhabit its mandate as outlined in the legislation. For instance, by the end of 1991, the Bank of Namibia had progressed into 7 departments, namely the Governor's Office, Operation Department, Exchange Control Department, Supervision Department, Research Department, Administration Department, and Information System Department. Some of these departments, including the Governor's Office, were initially headed by expatriates, as there were no skilled Namibian professionals to fill these roles during that time. The first Namibian governor, Mr. Tom Aluendo, was appointed in January 1997, and since then, the bank has transformed into a mature institution with staff complement of 290 staff members. Mr. Ipumbushimi took over the reign of the Bank of Namibia in 2010 until 2020, following his appointment as a Minister of Finance. The Bank of Namibia now carries out a fully fledged central banking functions across the country with 11 departments, including a branch at Oshakati in the northern Namibia. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, we are indeed very grateful for the foresight of our leaders that led us to this moment where we can celebrate the feats in their lifetime. We are eternally indebted to the founding mothers and fathers of our republic, on whose shoulders we stand today, and we will forever appreciate their efforts and be grateful. Our appreciation also equally goes to the former board members, governors, and staff, and indeed the current Bank of Namibia staff, also known as Eagles. With great humility, I would like to add that as a board, management, and the entire staff of the Bank of Namibia, we are very proud of the achievement and strides made in the execution of the mandate of this great institution thus far. Although much has been achieved over the past 30 years, you may agree with me that today we are faced with new dynamics and challenges. This is true, not only for the banking sector, but for the Namibian economy in general, as well as the country at large. Accordingly, as a central bank, we are now required to be more pragmatic and equally up to the task in confronting such complex challenges that we'll be facing in the years ahead. In confronting these challenges, ladies and gentlemen, we draw hope and courage from the journey we have traveled over the last 30 years. The unyielding hope and determination derive from the achievement and strides the bank has made, from a small branch in 1990 to a fully fledged central bank. With such a formidable history, we know our strength and resilience as an institution. We will call on these values and refer to this incredible track record as we chart the path forward during these challenging and trying times. We are motivated to achieve even more over the next 30 years and beyond. We are grateful that we have coincidentally just welcomed a new governor, Mr. Johannes Gawaxab, on board to help steer the institution forward as we navigate through this turbulent time. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted that the governor's address this morning will touch on the challenges we are facing and cast an eye on the evolving functions of the central bank as we will be moving forward. Most importantly, the address will further invite all of us to collaborate in tackling the unprecedented challenges facing our country. With these few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to welcome you to the Bank of Namibia 30th anniversary. We are indeed delighted to be in your company this morning. With this, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you, and you are most welcome at the bank. I thank you.
Another round of applause, please. Thank you so much, Deputy Governor, for taking us down memory lane. Obviously, that history is well captured in a book titled The 20th Anniversary Central Banking Excellence that is also available on our website. So you can always refer to that rich history on our website. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, help me to welcome the 6th Governor of the Bank of Namibia, Mr. Johannes Gawaxab, to deliver the 30th Anniversary Governor's Address under the theme, Delivering on Our Mandate, Monetary Policy, Financial Stability, and Economic Development. Governor, the floor is yours.
Director of Ceremony, Honorable Bernard Sipalatani, Chairperson of the National Council, Honorable McHenry Vanani, Leader of the Official Opposition, Honorable Members of Parliament and leaders of political formations represented in Parliament, members of the Diplomatic Corps and development partners, Deputy Governor and fellow board members, former assistant governors, former board members, management and staff members of the bank, chairpersons of boards and CEOs of regulated entities, captains of industry, colleagues from the academic fraternity, senior government officials, members of the media, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Namibians, good morning. With the 30th year milestone, thank you for coming to celebrate the 30 years of central banking excellence with us under the appropriate theme, delivering on our mandate, monetary policy, financial stability, and economic development. In my view, every moment of celebration brings with it an opportunity to look back. It's an opportunity to reflect on the journey traveled so far and introspect. Opportunity to reflect on how far the bank has come since the dawn of democracy in our country, as well as to contemplate over how I see us navigating the days ahead during these challenging economic times. When we look back over the past 30 years, the bank was founded at the time of great transition of our country. The mandate of the bank was set amidst vigorous debates and consideration over what the economic future of a new Namibia could and should look like. Our founding fathers opted to anchor the conduct of monetary policy under a fixed exchange rate regime. In this regard, the role of the bank had been to set an interest rate path that ensures the maintenance of the value of the Namibia dollar vis-à-vis its anchor currency. I'm happy to note that the bank has thus far done relatively well on this front. Inflation has been largely under control over the past 30 years, despite considerable stable, sound, well-regulated and modern financial system as measured by global standards, one of the best in the African region. Over the past 3 decades, the central bank has dedicated its efforts towards reforming the Namibian financial sector. The goal has been to transform the sector into a more competitive, resilient, and inclusive instrument that will contribute to the economy at its highest potential. Thanks to the cooperation and collaboration from various stakeholders, the Namibian financial sector looks much different and more promising than it did 30 years ago. The sector has attracted more players, both in the banking and the non-banking financial sectors way. Our concerted efforts to ensure that more Namibians have access to reliable and affordable financial services and products are bearing fruits. While this achievement is commendable, more still needs to be done to ensure that such services are available to the bulk of our rural population. The public mostly identify the Bank of Namibia with the function of currency issuance and management, and they should. The Namibia dollar has since its first issuance on 14 September 1993 become an important symbol of nationhood and value to Namibians. In 2003, the Bank of Namibia expanded its services to the north of Namibia by constructing the Oshakati branch. Through this expansion, there is a timely availability of the currency to a large share of the population in the northern regions. This was one way of guaranteeing that our services are easily accessible and available to the masses. The bank has also made meaningful progress in other areas. In terms of modernizing the national payment system, the bank's interventions ensure that payments and transfer of funds are done in a safe, cost-effective, and reasonably fast manner. The bank has also been committed to maintaining a healthy level of international reserves, as Namibia is an open economy and needs to ensure that it has adequate buffers in place to withstand financial headwinds. Overall, the Bank of Namibia has been critical in enhancing long-term macroeconomic stability in the country over the past 30 years. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that our 30-year journey as a central bank has not been without challenges. One of the main challenges in the early 1990s was to find qualified and experienced Namibian central bankers to carry out the mandate of the bank as enshrined in the Constitution and other legislations. I'm happy to note that over the past 30 years, the bank has embarked on a successful capacity building and training program that produced skilled personnel over the years, not only for the bank itself, but for the country at large. Several of the leading minds in the private sector, at state-owned enterprises, and in government are products of this great institution. Educating Namibians has been and will continue to be a central part of the bank's social responsibility. It is a source of great pride to see the central bank and other critical institutions in the country run by Namibians, a far cry from the situation of 30 years ago. It is worth pointing out that all these achievements over the last 3 decades were born out of the dedication of those who came before us. I will therefore fail in my duty if I do not acknowledge the hard work of my predecessors and the staff of the Bank of Namibia, past and present, who contributed to making what it is today. I would also like to applaud the continuing support of the government, the private sector, and all our esteemed stakeholders during this 30-year journey. I would also like to recognize the contributions of the international community in providing technical assistance to the Bank of Namibia during its formative years and thereafter. In this regard, the bank is highly indebted to the government of Sweden, to the United Nations, to the IMF, the World Bank, and our colleagues in the Common Monetary Area for their support. Before I deliberate on the role I see the bank focusing on in the future, the elephant in the room is we are currently preoccupied with the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic has brought added challenges to an already fragile economy. We have been grappling with subdued economic activities and falling gross domestic product per capita since 2016. The immediate policy challenge for the Bank of Namibia at this moment is the impact of COVID-19 on economic activities, consequently on the financial sector. The bank recently rolled out measures to preserve financial stability and smooth credit flows amidst the outbreak of the pandemic. We deployed a combination of monetary, micro, and macro-prudential policy actions that allowed banks to institute a loan repayment moratorium in the form of repayment holidays while ensuring uninterrupted lending to critical sectors of the economy. These measures epitomize the responsiveness of the central bank to prevailing macroeconomic conditions and economic cycles. These measures should remain broadly in force for as long as necessary and will be adjusted in line with the economic cycle. We will also continue to work together with the fiscal authorities to ensure that such policy effects are broadly optimized. Ladies and gentlemen, periods of economic and financial turmoil such as the one we are navigating today underline the need for strong central banks to serve as beacons of stability. The country at large is relying on us to deliver monetary stability, price stability, and financial stability during the unfolding pandemic and beyond. The key challenge is to navigate emerging risks that are surfacing in the global economic environment as we move forward with efforts to grow the economy more rapidly and create new jobs. Director of Ceremonies, the Namibian economy needs to transform and become competitive. We need to vigorously pursue economic diversification, improve productivity, and enhance resource allocation to productive sectors. As fiscal advisor to government, the bank is committed to play its part in this exercise. Namibia desperately needs faster, sustained economic growth to make a dent in the critical socio-economic challenges of poverty and high unemployment, particularly among the youth and less skilled individuals. This area will be the preoccupation of the bank in the coming years. Discharging the mandate of the bank in this regard calls for a close partnership with government and the private sector. The bank is ready to work with the government, not in a subservient role, but in a complementary fashion to set the framework for accelerated economic development. As I've alluded to earlier, the bank has continuously ensured a favorable macroeconomic environment for growth over the past 30 years. Going forward, however, monetary policy cannot be expected to be the driver of long-run growth in the economy. The policy challenges we face now are complex, and they will require equally complex strategies. The Namibian economy needs structural interventions to achieve a sustained increase in our growth potential. We need to dedicate our time to dissecting the constraints to growth in our economy, devise and implement the necessary strategies to overcome them. Over the coming decades, the bank needs to direct efforts towards supporting key players in the economy, as well as the government, to contribute effectively to economic development, growth, accelerated investment, and employment creation. Using our flagship annual symposium and other events, we will continue to address pertinent issues in the hope of addressing structural reforms and improving the long-term growth trajectory of our country. Looking towards the next 30 years and beyond, the ever-evolving global financial architecture presents a paradigm shift for the bank in the regulatory space. As a central bank, we should undoubtedly prepare to embrace the imminent digital revolution and tackle technological change. Digital transformation offers both opportunities and threats as it brings about fundamental changes in the working modes and business models in the financial sector. We will need to ensure that we have sound oversight over the digital architecture. As a regulator, it is incumbent upon us to make judgment calls on fintech risk, on digital currencies, making the cloud safe, supervising artificial intelligence, and defending the financial system against impending cybersecurity attacks. We also will need to be mindful of the manner in which we regulate new payment operators as we discharge our regulatory mandate in a gradually cashless society. Going forward, Director of Ceremonies, ladies and gentlemen, the evolving role of central banks presents a paradigm-changing moment for the bank. A notable opportunity in this regard is the assignment of the macroprudential oversight function to the Bank of Namibia in terms of the Bank of Namibia Act of 2020. This act is operational since June 2020. The bank will remain committed and determined towards fulfilling its mandate by identifying and mitigating systemic risks which impact the entire financial system. In this connection, the bank has already prepared itself well to effectively deliver on its newly assigned mandate and has established the necessary institutional architecture and framework, which principally involves two key things. One, the establishment of the Financial System Stability Committee as legally constituted in terms of Chapter 3 of the new Act, and its advisory role is clearly defined. Presently, the Bank of Namibia, in conjunction with NAMFISA and the Ministry of Finance, is in the process of resourcing the Financial System Stability Committee. In addition, the bank has recently drafted a macroprudential oversight and financial stability policy framework that will serve as a guide in implementing the macroprudential oversight mandate. The policy framework clearly outlines the objectives of macroprudential regulation, legal and institutional framework, decision-making process, consultations with NAMFISA, policy tools and implementation, crisis management framework, governance and macroprudential policy communication. The interface between macroprudential oversight and financial stability is also clearly defined in the framework. Ladies and gentlemen, these are trying times. We are facing an uncertain future ahead of us. However, as Abraham Lincoln once remarked, the best thing about the future is that it comes one day at a time. As a central bank, we are facing these challenges will require transforming and undergoing seismic changes to our institutional, operational, and structural setup. It will require us shifting from our comfort zone and embracing the unknown, giving our expanding the bank staff that, and I quote Lenin, there are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen, unquote. The past few months have indeed been momentous and disrupted life as we knew it. COVID-19 changed the ways we operate and the way we live. I firmly believe that the recent disruptions to the normal order in the past few years have taught us as a nation that we are a resilient and enduring group of people. What is needed now is to marshal our best efforts to lay the foundation for a strong economic recovery in the years to come. The central bank is ready to join in that conversation with an objective to realign the Namibian journey towards a prosperous and industrialized nation. The Bank of Namibia is a symbol of Namibian unity and stability. Let us continue to preserve it, nurture it, strengthen it for posterity and for generations to come. As I conclude, in celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Bank of Namibia, we recognize the contribution this institution can make to the future of our country. I would like to reiterate the commitment of the bank to remain at the forefront of leading change as we navigate these challenging economic times. The achievements of the bank over the past 30 years, as I have outlined, did not come on a silver platter. They were hard-earned, they required sacrifice, they were driven by commitment, they were anchored on persistent efforts, they took time and dedication. The onus is now upon us to follow in the good example set over the past 30 years to ensure that the next 30 years are yet another success story worth celebrating. The prevailing economic challenges call on us to be brave. As Veronica Roth once noted, there are many ways to be brave in this world. Sometimes bravery involves laying down your life for something bigger than yourself. Sometimes it involves giving up everything you have ever known for the sake of something greater. But other times, bravery is nothing more than the everyday work. Sometimes bravery is the slow daily walk toward a better life. That is the sort of bravery it took to make this institution what it is today. This is the sort of bravery we must call on as we navigate through these muddy waters. This is the sort of bravery we must have as we rise to face the challenges of our time, as we commit to ensuring that the strong foundations built over the last 30 years will be preserved. This sort of bravery will be essential for our success as we embark on the long road ahead as an institution and as a country. Now is our turn to honor the legacy of the bank by undertaking to be brave as we face the next 30 years. I thank you.
Another round of applause to our governor, please. Now, at the bank, we like the Latin dictum, standing on the shoulders of giants. You might have heard it in our speeches about 2 or 3 times today. Indeed, the achievements that we are celebrating, the accolades coming our way today, is because we had giants in our midst who showed the way, illuminated the path. One giant, Honorable Tom Alwendo, served this institution with diligence and foresight. He couldn't be here today. He's on national duty. And I would like to share his brief congratulatory message. It reads, "A very good morning to you all. I wish to congratulate the BON on its 30th anniversary. The bank has become one of the trusted state institutions. Having been the governor from 1997 to 2020, I look back with satisfaction that the bank carried out its mandate successfully and earned a reputation of integrity and professionalism. Over the years, the bank invested heavily in human capacity development, and it's no coincidence that today there are a number of former bank employees who are heading institutions, both public and private. I thank my successor at the bank, Governor Ipumbushimi, for his exemplary leadership. The bank continued to excel under his stewardship. I also congratulate Governor Johannes on his appointment and wish him a successful tenure at the bank. To all the eagles of the bank, continue to soar. I thank you." Well, can we just appreciate the former governor, please? Obviously, his immediate successor couldn't be here with us, but he has also passed his regards. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the final throes of our program. Let me at this moment invite the Director of Strategic Communications and Financial Sector Development, Dr. Emma Heyambo, to move a vote of thanks.
Allow me to take this off. Director of Ceremony, Honorable Chairperson of the National Council, Governor of the Bank of Namibia, allow me to align myself with the protocol established. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to take this opportunity to thank you all for taking time from your busy schedules to join the bank in celebrating its 30th anniversary. Without your presence, the program would not have been a success. Director of Ceremony, I particularly want to pay homage to the founding fathers and mothers, those present in and in absentia, who paved the way for the establishment and success of this great institution. We are all proud to mark this occasion. We indeed feel privileged to stand on the shoulders of such giants. I would also like to extend our sincerest gratitude to the former governors of the Bank of Namibia, under whose leadership the bank has thrived over the past 30 years. Your leadership remains inextricably linked to the rich history and accomplishments of this institution. Kindly remain open to the bank as we knock on your doors for more wisdom and guidance in future. To the Governor, Mr. Johannes Gawaxab, you have demonstrated over your impeccable career that you have the well-being of the Namibian nation at heart, and indeed the welfare of Namibians. We therefore feel honored to have you at the helm of this institution, assisting to drive the economic development agenda with the overall mandate, or within the overall mandate of the bank. We pledge our unwavering support to your vision that you have articulated today as we collectively preside over an expanding mandate. To our esteemed stakeholders, it's both gratifying and truly humbling for the bank to witness this overwhelming support, exemplified by your presence today. Your continuous support and cooperation does not go unnoticed, and your presence here is testimony to the strong and long-term relationship that we have cultivated over the years. It gives us hope for future collaboration and cooperation. Director of Ceremony, I will fail in my duty if I do not extend our gratitude to our strategic partners and the members of the media, who have always shown interest and availed themselves to cover the events and activities of the bank and inform the nation accordingly. Finally, I thank the former and current staff of the Bank of Namibia for their tenacity and diligence in the work that has contributed significantly to the overall success of the bank over the past 30 years. As we sign off, please be informed that the Governor's address is but one event in a series of events that we have planned to mark the 30th anniversary. We will inform you in good time of other upcoming events. Once again, thank you all for gracing us with your presence this morning. I thank you.
All right, so a reminder there that this is one but one in a series of events to mark the 30th anniversary of the bank. Please be on the lookout for some of those events as we make announcements on our social media pages. The governor, as you heard, did put out an invitation to join him on a conversation, a dialogue on how best we recover our economy, on the bank's stated vision. Let's continue to have that discussion in the foyer. also on our social media pages. Post your questions and your comments there as well. Let me thank all of our stakeholders for watching these proceedings from the comfort of your homes. And this was the Governor's address, the 30th anniversary of the Bank of Namibia. Let us all rise for the singing of the national anthems.
Let us all unite and celebrate together the victories won for our liberation. Let us dedicate ourselves to rise together to defend our liberty and unity. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the stars, let us make Africa the tree of life. Namibia, land of the brave, freedom fight we have won. Glory to their bravery, whose blood waters our freedom. We give our love and loyalty, together in unity. Contrasting beautiful Namibia, Namibia, our country, beloved land of savannas, all on the banner of liberty. Namibia, our country, Namibia, motherland.
Thank you so much. That has officially brought us to the end of our program this morning. Please join us in the foyer for some refreshments.